There's the slip, no slip in at least 40,000 years on northern route strands of the San Andreas Fault northwest of the Indio Hills, Southern California. I'm Doug Yule, and my co-authors are Jonathan Maddie, Catherine Kendrick, and Richard Heermans. I want to start by focusing on the fault map shown here, showing two routes for the San Andreas Fault through San Gregorio Pass region, a northern route shown in yellow and a southern route shown in red. The northern route has very little evidence of recent motion, except for locations out in the southeastern extent near Thousand Palms Canyon and Bushwalla Canyon in Indio. In contrast, the southern route has robust evidence for recent motion along its entire route, seen here, as indicated by black stars that are paleoseismic sites and red diamonds, which are Holocene slip rent sites. The upshot message here is that the southern route has a robust Holocene paleo earthquake and slip rate record, but only 50% or less of the expected frequency of earthquakes and amount of slip. So slip appears to be missing. The northern route, except for its southeastern extent, has no paleo earthquake record and no offsets less than 100,000 years old, and so cannot be the primary fault system. I want to focus in on an area in the central part of the northern route at this white rectangle, which is this map here, a LiDAR bare earth image showing the fault system in the red dots and red lines. Notice that the fault is only expressed as a solid line where it cuts through bedrock units that are middle Pleistocene and older, and most of its route is buried by young fan deposits. I want to focus next on this canyon incision into what we call a beheading of dry tributary, and then I'll focus on some things over here in Mission Creek to end. So in what we call the beheaded dry tributary, this canyon exposure that's 40 meters deep reveals a terrace and 25 meters of alluvium atop a strath terrace. And that strath surface and the material above it is unbroken by the fault system here in the center of the photograph. Zooming in on road cuts along here, labeled B, C, and D, one notice the fault zone again here, underlain by an unbroken strath terrace, the buttressing of quaternary alluvial gravels on top of vertically dipping conglomerates, and then a soil horizon developed at the top of this fill sequence. Our estimate for the time since last fault motion at dry tributaries beheading takes into consideration the thickness of the unit QAL and the 40 meter and 20 meter incisions here, and using 0.5 millimeter to 2 millimeters per year for those rates, we get a total time since last fault motion of between 42 and 170,000 years ago. Moving to Mission Creek at site E, or over there on the east of that LiDAR image that I showed you, here's a view to the west of the fault system cutting through this horizon and disappearing beneath an alluvial fan, which is exposed at a 6 meter high terrace incision by Mission Creek. What you can notice is that layering in this exposure is unbroken across the entire outcrop. And so it's demonstrating the fault, the alluvium here is unfaulted, and using a similar line of argument for incision and deposition rates, we get a total time since the last motion at Mission Creek of at least 3,000 to 18,000 years ago. So in summary, these our answers to where's the slip are as follows. First, we see no evidence for slip since more than 40,000 years ago at sites D and E, and in fact, all of these sites labeled A through H at the top of the diagram here. So the missing slip is not carried by the northern route. Secondly, we think it's detrimental to include and promote this northern route, as some recent studies have done, as the primary pathway for the San Andreas fault system. This disregards data presented here and may lead to erroneous San Andreas fault quake scenarios and risk assessment. Third, the northern route does not carry the southern route's quote unquote missing slip. And last, fault deformation and or slip transfer to the other fault systems in the region must play a significant role. Thank you for your attention.